very much. Thank you very much. Welcome to the IAA Hanover. It's our last day today. It's our last day. We've been here all week and we've been diving into the future, looking at technology, thinking about innovation, all that kind of stuff. I've been joined by Vicky Butler-Henderson all week and it's been terrific.
Thank you.
Vicky, as you know, racing driver and car journalist extraordinaire. Have you had a nice time?
I've had a lovely time and I can only make one cocktail.
What is your one cocktail?
It's called Vicky's Surprise. You can have it later.
We'll have that later. I don't know why you've been demoted behind the bar.
Oh no, I feel it's a
Confused about that.
promotion.
Okay.
Promotion here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Also, thank you to our wonderful house band. Starstruck is what we've come up with today for that name. We're kind of scraping the barrel, I think, with names. But have you had a good week?
Of course.
Of course.
You're the kindest host ever.
Hey, listen, you're going to enjoy this show because we're going to be talking about music today. And the reason we're talking about music today is because music is a really good example of an industry that is constantly in flux, in flow with innovation and change. We thought that would be a very good example, and then we could expand it out to talk about, well, why we're here. Obviously with Mercedes-Benz transforming the transportation industry. So let me ask you, when you're listening to music, what do you young kids listen to music on?
Well, it depends. I mean, there's a lot of good new stuff and a lot of bad new stuff. And some people might say, or some musicians might say, all the old stuff was great, but I think also there was a lot of shit.
But do you listen to like vinyl, or do you just listen to Spotify, or do you listen to tapes? That's what I mean. What kind of?
It's a combination, I guess.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean, like from a musician point of view, there are some issues with the streaming devices, you know, and we still have a heart for vintage stuff, like vinyls, of course, but I think it's a mixture of both, actually.
Interesting. And what about you, Vicky? What do you listen to? Do you get misty-eyed over vinyl records?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I get a little misty-eyed over CDs,
Okay.
but it's just, unusual.
Well, that's interesting, because I really think that how you listen to music is very much a generational thing. So obviously young kids will stream music. If you're a little bit older, you might have listened to CDs. And if you go further back, you might have listened to magnetic tapes. And if you go all the way back to my age, then of course it's vinyl. And I'm only 30. But actually, you can go even further back than that. I was doing a little bit of research about when was the very, very first recorded sound. And obviously, we can talk about the Victorians. But actually, we can go all the way back to the 1600s. 1632, there was a Dutch mariner, a sailor, a captain. And apparently, I read this in an old French pamphlet. Apparently, he sailed to some South Sea islands, very remote islands where little groups of people would live. And apparently these people would have sponges. And apparently they used to sing or speak into the sponges, and then you would squeeze the sponge, and then the sound would come out. I don't think it's true, but it's rather a nice idea. But anyway, our guest today, I'm very excited about to have this guest, because this is somebody who is standing right at that moment where the wave crashes and the change happens, right in the middle of a technological revolution. It's a bit like having Steve Jobs or Henry Ford or Thomas Edison here. So introduce our guest for us, Vicky.
I shall indeed. So he goes by the name of Karlheinz Brandenburg. And before we welcome him up onto the stage, here is a little snapshot in photographs of his life so far. So this is a photo of him laying the foundation stone at Fraunhofer IDMT in 2006. Then the installation of the wave field synthesis system in Ilmenau Cinema in 2006 as well. And then an honorary doctorate from the University Politecnica de Valencia in 2014. So, ladies and gentlemen, please give a very big, warm welcome to Karlheinz Brandenburg.
It is such a great pleasure to have you here. Now, we've spoken before, and the story, I should introduce actually, of how you invented called Co-Invented the MP3 is a really, really fascinating story. It's also a story that could take about 5 hours.
Yeah, at least.
To kind of go all the way through. We've only got sort of 8 minutes or so. So we're going to come to that in a moment. But first, before we do that, we've got 5 little quick-fire questions just to get the measure of you, so our audience can understand how your mind works a little bit. So are you ready for our quick-fire round? OK, number 1, favorite song?
From old times, something from the Beatles, like Yesterday.
Yesterday would be very good. Headphones or speakers?
Speakers, usually. Yeah.
OK. I'm not sure about this one. Best source of inspiration? Like, how do you get your inspiration?
A long time ago, but my thesis supervisor really pushed me and
so your supervisor. OK, this is a good one. Last concert you went to?
Oh, difficult to remember. I think
so many.
So many and so few on the other side.
Can you remember your last concert, Vicky?
Well, I know the last one I would like to have gone to, which was Taylor Swift, but I didn't get tickets.
You must have gone to see Taylor Swift.
I know, but that's not the music I usually listen to.
OK. And complete the sentence for us. Change is?
Staying curious.
Staying curious. That's exactly it. Thank you very much for that. So you are famous, or you're best known. Well, you've done a lot of extraordinary work over your career, but you're best known, I suppose, for the invention of the MP3. And your music, as you walked in, was a familiar track to some people. It was Tom's Diner by Suzanne Vega. Now, can you, for us, link those two things? Why were we playing Tom's Diner? How does that relate to the invention of the MP3?
In the old days, to get music compressed that most of it sounds somewhat okay was not that difficult. But to really find the worst case items was much more difficult. And I still remember when I first tried to compress Suzanne Vega's song, her voice sounded horrible. So she really helped us to improve the algorithm.
So, OK, well, let's take a step back. When you say compressing, first of all, I mean, we all heard the term MP3, but maybe you could explain, like, what is an MP3? We were doing just fine with CDs, and then suddenly the internet came along. So what was the point of the MP3?
MP3 is a format to use less data to store or transmit.
Yeah.
So you could store, and some people did it a long time ago, instead of 1 hour, 10 hours of music on a compact disc, CD-ROM, or you could have 1/10 of the transmission time over internet. And at these times, internet was slow.
Right. So the idea was you needed to compress the file. Now, that actually dates from quite a long time ago, in that the music that the human ear can hear, your idea was how much of that is unnecessary, like what is beyond the scope of the human ear, and being able to get rid of some of that data. That was the way of compressing.
It was really the art to find out how to compress the music, where you need to spend bits, where not, different frequencies and so on.
Yeah.
So it still sounds the same.
Yeah. And so did you sort of experiment with lots of different types of music? Because I know you're a classical music fan.
I like classical music, but I still remember for a research project I got some money to acquire music, and I went to a CD store and told him, I have so much money, quite a lot, and I need different types of music because we just wanted to try everything.
So wait, hang on. So you just went to a music store with like a bag of cash and just said, give us a bit of everything. And so the idea was to see which bits, what style of music, or?
It's style, but it's as well, is it very rich music or is it solo?
Oh, I see.
Suzanne Vega is a cappella, so it's more like solos. Some solo instruments were difficult. But all that had to be tried. We didn't know at that time. That's
really interesting, because it's funny, when you look at the history of recorded sound, and I learned this the other day. So obviously the Suzanne Vega track is just one voice.
Yeah.
And when Thomas Edison invented the gramophone, I think the first thing he said was "Mary had a little lamb," was just one voice. And then there was a guy, Edward Leon Smith de Martinville. Have you come across him?
No.
About 20, this is absolutely true, about 20 years before Thomas Edison invented the phonograph, he was somebody who was trying to record sound. And what he used was paper and soot, so soot from a candle, and a little stylus. And he managed to create a waveform in the soot with his stylus on a kind of drum that would rotate. And it was Au clair de la lune was what he spoke. And of course, these files just sat in a French museum for years and years until the invention of the MP3, when somebody was able to play them back again. So it's interesting how the human voice has become the standard experimenter of
I heard about that story.
Yeah,
that was recording only at the time, but much later people were able to find, there was actual sound on it.
Yeah. Well, that was it, because it just looked like a little waveform. So just take us through some of the technical challenges you faced. So you had this idea of compressing. I mean, was there a moment, a sort of eureka moment, where you were like, yes, we've got it, we can do Suzanne Vega, and that was it?
Of course, as with all eureka moment, you only know later on that this really worked.
Yeah.
But I remember some of these points, and it was basically looking at how our ear works.
Yeah.
So that was reading through textbooks to find out so-called psychoacoustics and masking effects.
Yeah.
And then at some point, I remember I thought of, couldn't I combine what people used for speech coding at that time in a different way, but using that for audio compression? And I tried it, and it worked. So that was great.
And presumably the only reason you were looking at MP3s was because of the invention of the internet. If the internet hadn't happened, there would be no MP3s. And that's quite interesting how technologies become kind of rather symbiotic of each other. You need one technology to exist before another technology can come along. And what was when you sort of cracked it, when you did it, what was the reaction from the music industry? Because I kind of remember in the early 90s, it was still pretty Wild West when you could illegally transfer music online.
In fact, into the late 90s, this was still going on. And yes, we in fact thought, that could be useful for music distribution for the big labels.
Yeah.
And I wasn't there, but others from Erlangen went to the offices of a big music label in Munich, and they were told, interesting research, but what has that to do with us? Yeah. They had no idea, and we were not able to explain to them that there would be major changes ahead.
It's a really good example, isn't it, of when a brand new technology comes along, just how much resistance there is, from the establishment. I mean, you must find this in cars when you're doing car journalism.
Absolutely. The electrification of automobiles is something that's scary because it's new to us, but we should embrace change and just, and go with it because it's new and it's exciting, and it will, lead to other developments. So.
Was there a kind of a sort of moment where the wave crashed when you thought to yourself, crikey, you know what? This is actually going to be a real game changer. This isn't just me mucking about, hobbying. This is big.
There was a time in the late 90s when the first MP3 players were manufactured, in fact in Taiwan, but using semiconductor chips manufactured in Germany.
Yeah.
And then I remembered I was in Hong Kong, and I looked into the exhibit of some electronics store, and they had 30 different types and brands of MP3 players. And I thought, okay, we've done it. Now there's an avalanche which was rolling, and nobody can stop it again.
And how did you feel when you sort of saw that? Did you kind of feel responsible for the death of the CD?
It's always CDs going, other technologies are coming.
Yeah.
You just need to embrace it. So I was never feeling bad about that.
Yes, that's it. Never feeling bad about that. I think that's a good.
And don't forget, CDs knocked records and vinyl out the way, so everything comes along and moves onwards.
Exactly. Now you've been roving again today, going around the exhibition, meeting companies, meeting people, looking at all the cool tech. Within this particular form of technology, transportation, you made a little video to tell us what you found out.
I have. Should we have a look now? Okay.
Let's have a little look.
Hello, You may have seen this on social media as it completed more than 15,000 kilometres across Europe. It is the e-Actros 600, and over 45 days it travelled through 22 countries, charging exclusively at public charging stations. This truck is not only durable, but it shows that electromobility has passed the reality test and that electric trucks are ready to go long distances. And this one in particular looks like it needs a little clean. What are your thoughts on this truck?
It's amazing, especially if you think where we have been 2-3 years ago.
And this is really a good initiative for decarbonization.
In my country, I don't see any electric trucks yet. I think we need 5 to 10 years to transform the transportation.
This is the future, from my point of view.
It will definitely make good impact.
This truck is probably one of the big steps in this direction.
This is more than a truck. It is a symbol of transformation. This is a game changer for Mercedes-Benz trucks, and we are right in the middle of it.
Nice, I like that, game changer. Nice little bit of polishing as well.
Thank you so much.
If you're going to invent a new technology, keep it clean. That's what I say. Hey, now listen, we've been playing some silly games in our show to do with change, to do with transformation. Vicky, what have you got for us today for our final showdown?
Well, this is called a patented parents, and if you could make your way to the front of the stage.
Come with me to the front of the stage, Karlheinz. We're going to play a game, and I have no idea what the game is.
So, inventions and transformations are what we have described as strange at first, but we get used to them. So, you must match the inventions with the inventors. You will shout out, so whoever gets the answer correct first.
Oh, so you're going to show us an object and we've got to say who invented it?
I'm going to show you some clues, not necessarily an object.
So this is just both of us together at the same time shouting. Okay, yep. Bring it on.
And I'm going to bring up my scorecard.
Okay. Clue
number 1.
Well, he invented everything. He invented the phonograph.
Electric bulb.
What else did someone say? The light bulb, obviously.
Yeah, light bulb, yeah.
I think right there, Karlheinz has got it right because he said the light bulb to start with. So
oh, did you? Sorry, I didn't hear.
Electric bulb.
And just for the rest of us, we can just go back and remind ourselves that this was invented in 1879. Mm-hmm. It was also known as the Wizard of Menlo Park, and this invention illuminated homes and streets, replacing gas lamps. And would you like to know a fun fact?
Tell me.
Edison tested over 6,000 plant materials to find a suitable filament for the light bulb.
That's right. I think wasn't it coconut was the one that kind of worked?
I don't remember, but I was once there. It's a museum now, and they had really tons of people trying everything.
Yeah.
I love that. Some coconut husk was one of them.
Yeah, like the fibres of the coconut husk. Yeah, I seem to remember that.
So, Karlheinz, you're in the lead. So let us look at the next one.
Oh my God.
Oh no.
Who's that? Philo Farnsworth.
Philo Farnsworth invented what? Would you like some clues? Clue number 1.
Need a clue.
Philo invented this in 1927. Clue number 2. Transmitted the electric image.
Television, yeah.
What do you think?
Television, yeah.
Who said that first?
I think we've been on the same time.
It was the same. It was
the same.
See, we automatically think of sort of John Logie Baird when we think of the television, but
there are others.
There are always others. There's always others.
Manfred von Ardenne in Dresden and so on. There are several who worked early on this.
Well, just to educate us a little bit more in the world of television, clue 3 was this invention changed entertainment and news consumption forever, bringing moving images into homes. And would you like a fun fact on TVs? Please. Farnsworth was just 14 years old when he came up with the idea for the TV. Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing. Presumably, though, there's
people having great ideas.
Exactly. People have great ideas. This is what you do with your great idea. Yeah. That's the key thing. Yeah.
So, Karlheinz, you're in the lead with 2, Dallas on 1. Okay. Number 3, let's go.
Fielding.
Alfred Fielding and Mark.
Again, no idea.
Know them?
No.
Would you like a clue?
Yeah.
Okay, first clue is 1957.
Year of Sputnik, year of the space age. Keep going.
Clue number 2, originally intended as textured wallpaper.
Artex wallpaper, that's what I'm thinking of.
Clue number 3.
Oh, I know what it was. I know it. Bubble wrap.
Yes, well done, Dallas. It was bubble wrap.
I'm doing that with my thumbs because we like to.
Good.
Dallas, I'm going to give you this to play with whilst I look at clue number 3, which is it's the best way to keep fragile items safe.
Are you
and
stressed?
a great stress
You can have a little bit of that to pop.
Yeah.
And fun fact, bubble wrap was initially marketed as the wallpaper before finding its true purpose as packaging.
I like it.
Okay, final one. Where are we on the scores? 2-all. Ooh.
Yeah.
Cliffhanger.
Telephone.
Okay.
That's
number 4.
We both know it. It's the telephone.
But you were the first to say it, Dallas.
No. We said it at the same time.
So of course it was the telephone.
Yeah.
And for those of us who need a little bit of information behind it, first invented in 1876. And Alexander Graham Bell wanted to find a way to communicate with his deaf mother. And this invention allowed voices to be transmitted over wires, replacing the telegraph. And fun facts, the first words ever spoken over the telephone were...
Wrong number.
Mr. Watson, come here, I want to see you.
Nice.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, Karlheinz is the winner.
Very well done. Yeah, he is. Well done.
We are even.
Well done.
Okay.
That was a good game. I enjoyed that.
Lovely. I learned some
It was a
stuff.
good mix of like very obscure ones, which we didn't know, and the big ones like Alexander Graham Bell. Do you find yourself now coming up in pub quizzes and things like as the inventor of the MP3?
I heard this happened, yes.
Okay, good. I'm also curious about how Suzanne Vega felt about her song becoming this kind of line in the sand of invention.
She heard about that much later, in fact, being at school from other parents of school kids.
Yeah.
And she likes the story very much.
Yeah.
So she visited us in Erlangen at some point in time. And she liked to mention she's the mother of MP3.
Yeah.
When she heard that there were a lot of people involved, so there are many fathers of MP3, she didn't like that wording, not that much anymore. But
do you guys know the song? Do you know Tom's Dino?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, I don't. So for me, it was when I was growing up. It was such a big.
There's
it was such a big hit.
Actually, there's a version of a German band which went viral like 1 or 2 years ago, and it's famous in the whole world, and it's still so cool.
Oh, I didn't know that. There you go. I want to talk about that tipping point. I'm just really curious about when that moment where there's no going back, when the MP3. And you mentioned earlier on you were in South Korea, and you noticed there were some MP3 players. And I'm curious, like, how that happened. Like, did sort of companies like Apple, who made the iPod, or different companies come to you and say, right, we're now going to make a machine to play these? How did that happen?
No, there was a long way to go through the world and being at different conferences, telling people about everything. In fact, we use the internet to do some advertising, like frequently asked question about audio coding and why MP3 is the best, done by my colleague and friend Harald Popp. And then, in fact, at some point, we got the advice, use the internet as really a point to distribute music. And we had somebody who wanted to do it in a legal way, but he never got the financing, and it didn't really take off. But other people did that without asking, which was a big success for us. We didn't like it because we want intellectual property to be worth something, even if it's music and the work of musicians. But that was really when things started very fast.
How did you deal with all that legal stuff? Because at the time, I remember there was all these kind of legal issues about music publishing and ownership.
There was one point. We've been in standardization, and there are rules for standardized formats, and they are, on one hand, it's out of the control of the original inventors, because you promise that you will license the technology to everybody who wants to use it. So we did license to different companies, software companies, hardware companies, and so on. They really wanted to use the technology, so they asked us or asked Thomson. We were working with Thomson to do this licensing. So there was a lot of work involved, but it grew bigger and bigger.
Yeah. I'm interested about what you think about music now, because obviously even with MP3s, you would still, in a way, even if though it was a digital file, you would still kind of own it. It would be on your device. And nowadays, everyone's just streaming music. No one owns music anymore. What do you think of that? Are you comfortable with that as a model, or?
Of course, if people like it, I'm comfortable with it. On the other hand, I still have a lot of music I bought from download services, and when I'm on the airplane, I can't stream. So there's still quite some reason to pay your monthly fees to really get music you can store, and so on and so on.
That's when I'm on an airplane, I take my record player with me. I take my speakers, amp, the whole thing. It's good. I like it. Right. OK, we're running out of time. I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to come and talk to us a little bit about your own kind of eureka moment, your pivotal moment, a moment that really changed the landscape. To finish off, though, we've got a little bit of a top 10 rundown, 10 signs that your disruptive invention has become mainstream. OK, are you ready?
Yeah.
Right, number 10, it becomes the subject of a streaming documentary.
Okay.
Number 9, people are already nostalgic about it, like we are. Number 8, your local library now offers classes on how to use it, between knitting and advanced Excel. Number 7, it becomes the subject of conspiracy theories on YouTube. Is this invention secretly controlling the weather, etc., etc. Number 6, it's used as a plot device in popular TV dramas. Number 5, your product has its own parody Twitter account. Number 4, you see it in a charity shop next to the Tamagotchis. Remember those? Number 3, it's become a verb, MP3ing. Number 2, your mum finally understood what it is that you do. And number 1, late-night TV hosts are using it in their monologues. There we go. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Karlheinz Brandenburg, a great pleasure. Thank you. Give them a round of applause. And thank you for being here. I can't believe it's our last show. I just feel like we're just getting warmed up, and then it ends.
I've loved it. I've loved every second.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone who stopped by the IAA here in Hanover to stop by and enjoy our show. And thank you very much for coming. Most of all, thank you for watching on the internet, wherever you are. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've found some of the stuff that we've talked about interesting. Go forward into the future with confidence. I think that's the motto. Thank you and good night.
Bye-bye.
Mercedes-Benz. Trucks you can trust.